Somebody loves me. Because somebody doesn't talk because you don't No, I might get to a comment.
Yes, I think that sounds about right.
At our all-site.
I'm sure.
I would bring one comes in. Mine just has a few kids. Like so bad.
Good evening. I apologize for the late start. With it being 6:40, I call the meeting of the Francis Howell School District to order. This evening, we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our National Merit Scholarship semifinalist.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Walker and a second by Mr. Lane. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board, next on our agenda, we have recognitions. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dykeman.
Thank you, Mrs. Cope. The Francis Howell School District is proud to announce that 5 district students have been named semifinalists in the 2019 National Merit Scholarship Program. The semifinalists, who were selected based on scores on a PSAT qualifying test, will compete for national merit scholarships worth more than $31 million to be awarded this spring. The Francis Howell semifinalists are, from Francis Howell High School, Andrea Lynn, Isabella Reed. From Francis Howell Central, Brent Harfman, Logan Knocktraub, and from Francis Howell North, Joanna Dorman. I believe with fall break starting, we only have one who is able to make it tonight. Logan, if you'd come on up, please.
Congratulations, Logan.
The nationwide pool of semifinalists represent less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors and includes the highest scoring entrants from each state. To become a finalist, these students must submit a detailed scholarship application, which includes information about their academic record, participation in school and community activities, leadership abilities, employment, and honors and awards. It's one of the things we love about this scholarship. It's based on more than just academics. A semifinalist must have an outstanding academic record throughout high school, be endorsed by a high school administrator, write an essay, and earn an SAT score that confirms the earlier test performance. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Logan Knocktraub.
Yeah, I was like, what's happening here? Mom, Dad, you can come up and take a picture too. And Sonny can come up as well. I'll do that.
Now we need the official district photo. Get in there.
I wasn't sure.
I was like, why is she standing so far away from us? I was like,
Get in there like you know each other.
Mom and Dad on either side. I used to work at Olin Mills.
Oh, yay.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you, Dr. Arnell, for your punctual appearance this evening. Here to introduce our student board representative is Francis Howell Middle School Principal, Dr. Kirsten James.
Good evening. Tegan O'Donnell was selected as this year's Francis Howell Middle School's honorary board representative for a variety of reasons, including her ability to be a compassionate leader who is willing to help anyone. When teachers and counselors were asked to recommend a representative, Tegan was the first student to come to mind. Those who know her best say she is always positive and motivated. She is described as one who always listens to her peers and truly reaches out to everyone in our school to ensure all voices are heard. Tegan is a very involved student at Francis Howell Middle School. She has worked hard to maintain honor roll in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and has an active role in our drama club, Shield Club, serves as a speaker at our all-school assemblies, and serves as a thoughtful, dependable web mentor and leader. Tegan is tenacious even in the face of diversity. Tegan's guidance counselor said, even when she gets knocked down, she gets back up and overcomes. She has a smile that will light up a room. She listens with her eyes, ears, and heart. Tegan finds different perspectives and ways of thinking interesting and shared with me that her favorite quote from Superman character Lex Luthor reflects an appreciation of perspectives. Some people can read War and Peace and come away thinking it's a simple adventure story. Others can read the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper and unlock the secrets of the universe. Tegan's passion for helping others and serving as a compassionate leader contribute to her aspirations to attend a 4-year university, perhaps focusing on a career in mental health and counseling. Francis Howell Middle School is honored to select this hard-working, compassionate student leader who always perseveres to represent the students and staff at Francis Howell Middle School at tonight's board meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, Tegan O'Donnell.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Squeeze in close. Thank you.
Hi Tegan, thanks for joining us tonight. So you get to be an official person here at the board with us. So Mr. Hain is showing you kind of how to follow along with our meeting. And you get to participate in everything but voting tonight, okay? But we welcome your comments and your input. So if you push your button and kind of look at me, I'll know that you want to speak, okay? You want to try?
I have to right now.
Practice. Go ahead. Push the button.
Okay.
Okay. You got it. Thank you, Mr. Dykeman. All right, next on our agenda is, we do not have any patron comments this evening. FHEA? BSPA?
Good evening, Board of Ed, Dr. Hendricks Harris, Cabinet, and community members. While FESPA is not against event workers being paid more, we have concerns with their starting pay being more than paraprofessionals, custodians, or site secretaries. All these positions have starting pay less than the $15 an hour and often require education and/or experience. These positions are often unfilled as well and affect student learning when they're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
So moved. Second.
I have a first by Mrs. Walker and a second by Mrs. Lang. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is our best practice for food services. We're going to turn that over to Mr. Suppel.
Thank you, Mrs. Coe. I'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Mike Griffith, who is the Area General Manager for Sodexo Food Services, and he will introduce his team.
Great, thank you and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. It's with my greatest pleasure that I introduce the local team, some of the members that really do the day-to-day work every day to make this program what it is. The first one I'd like to recognize is Chef Karen Mann and school dietitian Marilyn Colvin. We have a lot of great things going on at Francis Howell. We really appreciate the partnership, and we're just going to talk about a few things this evening in regards to the best practices and the things that we're doing this year.
Launched at the very beginning of this school year is a new app. It's the So Happy app. It is a free download to your phone that will tell you the daily menu at all of our schools. So the first time you download the app, you can set your preferences on what school in Francis Howell that you attend or have multiple children that attend. And you can even set like allergy information. So the top 8 allergens are available. You can set that as a filter for your app when you go into the menu to see what's on there. And this is a great resource if you're looking for any of the nutritional information of our menus that are menued daily at that school. And go to the next one. Right here is a picture of the actual app. This is from, I think it's Independence Menu. It shows you the nutritional information, your protein content, your carb contents. Our nurses have found this very effective tool to use when counting their carb counts for the diabetic students. And even parents at home can look at the menu to check for some of those allergens. There's easy to read icons for the top 8 allergens on this app, so you can look and see, your soy, your wheat, your gluten, your eggs, and you can kind of see what allergens might affect that menu that day. So it's been great. I've had a lot of positive feedback from the nurses who use it, and even some of the parents that have told me how great of a resource it is to help with those allergens.
So Taste 4 is a new program that we've started at the high school level. And it came by surveying students of what are the most important things to you. They said fresh, flavor, friends, and fun. And so that's the 4 in the Taste 4. So I have not found in this repertoire of recipes a bad recipe at all. The kids are loving this. You will see here, you see a picture of Francis Howell North, what it looks like currently with the new program. And they have a made-to-order deli. There's a pizza and a pasta station. There's a grill. There's a fast station where they can just grab and go. We've installed big video displays so they can clearly and easily see the menus. It gives the appearance of a college campus. And the adventure line there features something different weekly. And here you see the before and after at Howell High. So on the adventure line we have 12 different stations or branded concepts. So Overslept is one where you have breakfast for lunch. There's one with baked potatoes, which is Tater Temptations. Strutters is all chicken, and Fiesta is Mexican, and so on. So over the course of time, they will experience 12 different repertoires. So this is a menu where they can travel with their taste buds. So they have flavors from around the world that are featured monthly. So they can go to Mexico, they can go to Asia, they can go to the Mediterranean, American regional. different spices from around the world, and with that comes different menu items and sauces that they can sauce anything up they want to. Taste for are, like I said, I have not found any recipe that has been a problem that we've had to tweak in any way. The kids are loving it. We have an increase of 10%, so that should say something. And then the other new thing that's coming is the Food for Thought Academy. That came from a mixture of Iron Chef and the food truck, and a combination of chefs working together. So you have 4 chefs that will be working on this, myself and Carl McConnell from Stone Soup Cottage, Connor Van Booskerk from VP Chocolate Bar, and Chef Campione. And so together we have outlined a program that matches what the kids are learning in the culinary programs at Francis Howell. They will be prepared for career readiness. And each chef is going to design their menu for that class that night with their own flavor profile. So they'll get a mixture. We all have different styles, and they will experience all of that. But the great thing is at the end, they will have a portfolio that they can take and interview for any kind of culinary job at the end. We have a couple of things planned. Legacy Park has a truck event in the spring, which we will participate with the food truck. All of you during Board Appreciation Week will experience a dinner made by the students. And the PALs will also experience a dinner made from these students. So I'm excited about this. It will start with the first one with Chef Campione on November 19th.
Again, we greatly appreciate the partnership. Thank you so much.
I have a couple questions, so don't run off.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So first of all, for the Food for Thought Academy, do you accept board members as participants?
You can be an honorary member.
That sounds excellent. I'm so
Okay.
excited about the partnership and the opportunity for our students. Tegan, how's that? Are you looking forward to a high school cafeteria when you move from the middle school to the high school?
Yes.
Looks pretty exciting, doesn't it? I was sharing with Mr. Lang that it's a long way from our rectangle pizza that we had. So thank you for your continued innovation and opportunity for our students. I'm very excited about the app. I was not aware of that. And since I have a niece that has significant gluten issues, I'm excited that we're providing that for our students. It's very important. She gets gluten unexpectedly sometimes. And so it's a great opportunity. So I'm gonna make sure she knows about that. Board, any other questions or comments?
This is Janet, who's on the little iPad there, and I are looking forward to our visit. I believe we had set for October 24th, and Mike, you're invited to go with us if you're off that day, but we're going to go see the Taste For, and we're going to meet you at Francis Howell North that day.
Yes.
We'll be there.
Okay, good. It's a date.
Thank you.
Just Mike.
I know the board knows this, but I just want to,
Retire.
I also just want to thank Sodexo. You guys are great partners, and I think some of the examples of some things that you've brought forward this year and that continuous improvement mindset that Sodexo has very much complements what we're working on in Francis Howell. And the new after school club is so aligned to the strategic plan, so college and career readiness, partnering, experiential learning, all of those things, that we're just very grateful to be working with you all.
Thank you.
Board, next on our agenda is the MSBA board report.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of October. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the recent 2019 MSBA Annual Conference, where nearly 1,200 school board members and administrators gathered to learn the latest on issues having an impact on their local school districts and to improve their leadership skills. Attendees had the opportunity to participate in more than 120 breakout sessions and workshops presented mostly by leaders from school districts throughout the state. Among the keynote speakers at the event was best-selling author, social entrepreneur, and decorated combat veteran Wes Moore, who thanked school board members for choosing to serve children.
And I am grateful for the fact that there are people who are willing to line up with my wife and I and say, we will fight for your children as if they were ours. That means something to me as a parent. That you're willing to stand in the gap even when you don't have to. That you're willing to understand the realization that you every day are fighting for kids, many of whom you will never even meet them. Many of whom you'll never even know their names. But you fight every day for the hope of them. You fight every day for their pathways, as if they were your own. And that's meaningful.
Standing in the gap, by the way, has been the theme this year for MSBA's president, Rhonda Gilstrap of the Blue Springs Board of Education. Among his many accomplishments, Wes Moore is the Chief Executive Officer of the Robin Hood Foundation, one of the nation's largest foundations aimed at alleviating poverty.
We have a very clear focus with our organization that we will fight for and we will serve for children and families who are coming up in poverty and create real pathways for sustainable economic mobility. And the thing that I'm very clear about is quantitatively and historically, there's never been anything that's been able to show a long-term sustainable economic mobility for a family like increases in educational assets. Nothing.
Moore told school board members and administrators attending the conference their advocacy for children is real and meaningful. Also speaking at this year's annual conference was Governor Mike Parson, who challenged board members and administrators to work with him to figure out ways to do a better job of paying teachers adequately.
But we have to do something with the funding situation for the teachers in this state. There is no way the direction Missouri is headed right now, the economic development engine that we have in this state, with the workforce development pieces we got, we cannot keep and to expect to perform when we're paying our teachers 48th in the nation in this state, when we're starting to move up the ladder and other things. If we don't do a better job in that, there will be consequences to that, and that's just a fact.
Parson added, every community in Missouri should have the ability to offer voluntary early childhood education programs. Missouri's 2020 Teacher of the Year is Melissa Grandel, an English language arts teacher at Fordland High School near Springfield. She told an audience at the annual conference, Missouri has outstanding teachers, but many feel overwhelmed and frustrated that they are not doing enough for their students who struggle to break the cycle of poverty.
I ask you to support your teachers, and I know that you do, but I'm asking you to support your teachers, to talk to them, to encourage them, to find them and listen to them. Find out what they need and what they believe. Teachers are a school's best resource, but so often they feel isolated and underappreciated. And I ask you to make them part of the conversation, and I'm certain that you'll be glad that you did.
Randall will serve as Missouri's representative in the National Teacher of the Year program. The MSBA Delegate Assembly met during the annual conference to vote on the position statements that will form the basis of MSBA's advocacy work in the coming year. Among the new position statements approved by delegates are statements calling for funding to allow local school districts to identify and address safety and security concerns, and for increased accountability for charter schools. Every school board belonging to MSBA is eligible to send at least one voting delegate to MSBA's Delegate Assembly. One of the highlights of this year's annual conference was the Student Showcase, where students from 22 school districts were on hand to demonstrate skills gained through innovative programs offered in their districts. School board members and administrators had the opportunity to meet with the students and have them explain the unique programs offered by their school districts. The MSBA Annual Conference, in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators, is on the move. MSBA President Rhonda Gilstrap announced at this year's event the decision by the MSBA Board of Directors to move the 2020 annual conference from the Lake of the Ozarks to Kansas City. The 2020 annual conference will be held from September 24th to 27th. You'll be receiving more information about the new location of the annual conference in the coming weeks. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
For next on our agenda is under fiscal responsibility. I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchases over $7,500 as presented.
Second.
I have a first by Mrs. Walker and a second by Mr. Lane. By all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the September 2019 financial statements as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Lane, seconded by Mrs. Walker. Mr. Supple?
Thank you, Mrs. Cope. Just two comments, I guess. We've just finished up the first quarter of the fiscal year, and I think we're tracking just where we thought we would be. The other thing that I wanted to point out to the board is that we did include a report in the information section that gives you some comparison data about how we're doing with our transportation services, contracted versus our in-house operations. And so it does give you a snapshot of how different the two operations look in terms of the way that the expenditures are divided up. And I think we're right on track with where we thought we would be. And so I'm very pleased that we're doing that. Mrs. Jen Simpson's doing a great job leading that out, and very proud of her work and the work of all the staff. And we're just getting better and better every day.
Thank you, Mr. Supple. Board, any questions? Mrs. Walker?
Would this be the appropriate time to ask a question about that section in the information? Just the transportation? It mentioned, is that okay?
Sure.
It mentioned a lot of one-time expenses that are in this first year. Do we have an idea what the ballpark number is on those one-time expenses?
I can put a little bit of a frame of reference around it. Not all of the expenses necessarily appeared in one fiscal year, but we spent about $300,000 on tools. So once you get that shop equipped, you're not going to have to do that again.
Board, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve engaging KEB to conduct a financial procedures audit as presented.
So moved.
Second. I have a first from Mrs. Walker and a second from Mrs. Lane. Mr. Supple?
Thank you, Mrs. Cope. The board had expressed some interest in having an independent appraisal of some of the policies, practices, and procedures that we have, particularly around the financial arena. And so we worked with our current external audit firm, Kerber, Eck & Breckel, to develop a system that we could use here at Francis Howell. They happen to have a lot of experience working with other public sector clients, nonprofit sector clients, to do just exactly what we had been envisioning. And so we were able to get a lot of guidance from them. They provided some examples of what they've done for other clients. Dr. Hendricks Harris and I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Rick Gratza, the principal from KEB, who works with our account. And we mutually agreed upon a set of procedures that we think would be a great place for us to start. So the proposal that you have tonight is to begin that work. It's a first step in a process that we imagine will be an ongoing process one of the things that Mr. Grazza said is that it's nice to space it out over a little bit of time, because when they come next time to the same procedure that's been audited previously, they can actually see what growth or what change has taken place.
Thank you, Mr. Supple. Board, any questions? Ms. Walker?
What does the rest of this process look like? So this is sort of step one, and you guys decided which things to look at first. And so are we envisioning something that's just an ongoing, every couple months, new process, or how is that going to work?
I wouldn't imagine every couple of months, only because there is going to be some institutional energy that's required to do this. So we're going to fit this in among other things that we're doing. But I would imagine that every year, some component of our organization is going to undergo an audit of processes and procedures, compliance with board policy. This will be an ongoing effort. We're focusing right now on financial things. It's kind of the bailiwick that KEB really excels at, but I imagine there are opportunities in other areas of the organization as well.
Mr. Hain?
So this will be done in conjunction with our yearly audit, or would this be something that would be in addition to our yearly audit?
In addition to.
Okay, but would it be in the same time frame?
Probably.
Or would it be totally different?
I need to talk to Mr. Grazza. I would imagine that it's possible that a different set of KEB staff would be involved, so it could potentially overlap. One of the things that we need to be sensitive to is that when they are on site, in fact they are on site today, they'll be back for the next couple weeks, our staff in finance has to be available to answer questions as they arise. And so I think it would be difficult during our external audit to also undergo the financial procedures, because the same people are going to have to be answering the same questions. And in addition to the audit work, they have other things that they need to do on a daily basis. I imagine it taking place after the auditors have completed the external work. So probably sometime around the first of the year.
And we're a rather large organization with many different compartments. I mean, is this something that we would expect to be able to do the district in 3 years, 5 years, 8 years? I mean, what type, how many phases, and do we have an estimate on the total cost to do the entire audit?
We don't have an estimate on total cost because it really depends on the scope. I think this is an opportunity for us to work with some procedures that have been tested in their engagements for other clients, where they have a good deal of knowledge about the process and a good handle on setting a cost on that. It may turn out that we decide to get more sophisticated as we move forward, a much more in-depth look at a particular scope, and that may be a little more costly as we move forward. But at every point along the way, as the work is being done, we'll try to engage the board, keep the board updated as to what our plans are. I think the idea is that we would have a continuous process of somebody from the outside taking a look at various aspects of the organization.
I see this similar to the other planning that we're doing, so it's not a one and done and a follow-up, it's an ongoing internal processes check. And when Kevin and Rick and I sat down, we picked those processes that we thought were the big primary ones out the gate, making this part of an annual process, identifying what the areas are and putting an audit in place will help us to circle back to some of those things if we need to. So hypothetically, we're starting with payroll. If we were to find some concerns in payroll, we might add payroll on to next year's audit as well to see if the corrections have been made as evidenced by a third-party look. So you certainly could do a comprehensive one and done. It's going to be more costly, so spreading out the cost, as well as the work from the finance department, who has an annual audit on top of overheading at this point. So we did try to make it comprehensive out the gate when we were talking about which areas we would include in phase one.
I think it's important as we go through this process, you know, monitoring our quality management system and our processes across the district. I'm sure you've thought of this already, but I'll throw it in. If we have findings and opportunities for improvement, that we're actually tracking those to closure.
Right.
Let's get our return on our investment. Not only look under the rock, but if we find something, make sure that we're tracking it to closure.
And that's exactly the conversation that I had with my department, that we approach it just as we do the annual audit, that these are always an opportunity for us to improve our process and procedures.
Great. All right, board, any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the transportation routes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first from Mrs. Walker and a second from Mrs. Lang. Board, any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Board, I'll entertain a motion to approve the increase in event workers' hourly wage as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Lang. Board, any questions? Mrs. Walker?
So are any of our staff eligible to work these additional positions, openings, those sorts of things?
Simpkins isn't here, but the best, as I recall, at one point we were not allowing all of our staff because we were being in compliance with FMLA, and we've recently loosened our restrictions, so our employees are eligible to apply for these positions, yes.
Thank you.
Everybody's nodding their heads at me, so yes.
Just so that we're not confusing. So this is not coaching.
Right.
Coaching is where we loosen the restrictions because the non-certified people with the hourly wage, there was a problem. So, but this is like the line guys at football games and so forth, ticket takers, and yes, any of our staff are eligible to do that because it's a defined scope of work. You're going to work from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and you're going to get X number of dollars per hour. So it's very easy to figure out the any overtime that might accrue to a person who is an hourly worker, which is more difficult if it's a coaching job where the number of hours that you work isn't really directly related to the work that you know, your coach might work many hours in excess of what you would calculate an hourly wage to be. So
I'll just point out a couple other things in Lisa's memo in that our benchmark districts are paying significantly higher even once you add this raise in, and the total cost of the district for a year is $6,000. It's weekend and Friday night work, which makes it even more difficult from a supply and demand aspect. And the other thing is the board tonight approved a compensation study that will help us to look at all of our employee groups and how those rates compare across not only our benchmark districts, which we generally have access to, but the region. And we will be talking with the board about there will be some conversations in the future about the results of that compensation study and areas where we need to make some adjustments moving forward.
Board, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. For the next section of our agenda is strategic planning. We have a first reading of a policy, so please make sure that you are looking at policy 2770 for review. Then we're going to have a strategic planning committee updates. Dr. Mary Hendricks Harris.
Yeah, so a while ago I approached the board about changing formats of our steering committees and merging our advisory committees into one big steering committee. It was supposed to take place last month, and instead we decided that we were going to have a group of stakeholders in to talk about the funding of our facilities master plan. So in lieu of that first meeting, we tonight are going to give you an update on each of the 5 goal areas, and then we will pick up where we left off with the second scheduled steering committee meeting. So with that, I will turn it over to Goal Champion from Goal Area 1.
Thank you. In your agenda, as well as these updates, you also have a full report, so you can see much more detail than we'll cover tonight. For Goal 1, I have this clicker. I should go ahead and use it. For Goal 1, these are just the highlights. We did get 8 action teams underway this year, so these 4 bullets on the left actually encompass 8 different action teams. The first one there talks about measurable standards for college, high school, and middle school readiness. In other words, what do we want our high school graduates to look like? What characteristics should they possess? What should our 8th graders possess as characteristics to be ready for high school? And what should our 5th graders look like to be ready for middle school? So we've got an action team really setting those parameters, and then we'll be able to track those outcomes and see how we're doing. The second one is a comprehensive K-12 career education curriculum. We've been doing things at the middle and high school level, but they haven't necessarily been connected, and they certainly haven't been comprehensive starting at young ages. So that's all about career exploration, hopefully getting kids to the point that they're able to better make choices in their high school courses to get themselves ready for college, but we recognize it needs to start at an earlier age. The third bullet there is about different career readiness measurements. CTE is coursework that gets kids ready for a career. STEM is, of course, something we talk about a lot, but we do it mostly at high school right now, trying to improve our offerings K-8. And then the IRC's industry recognized certificates. Those are certificates that kids would graduate with that make them desirable to an employer right out of high school, help them earn higher wages, and because they're shown to be proficient in a certain area. That's what the certificate would be in. And that last bullet there, that's the easy one, reduce achievement gaps by 20% in all areas. With our goal being focused on academics, we felt important to really have a team focus on this. The idea would be they would identify strategies from across the nation that have shown success and look for more strategic ways to employ those across the district, as opposed to just individual buildings doing the best they can. So more systematic ways. And then strategy 2 for us right now, that's just one action team, and that is doing a complete audit of our multi-tiered system of support, all about our interventions and how we help all kids. We're going to first start with that audit. That will then likely lead to additional actions. So at this point, we're just going to complete the audit, and then we'll know where we stand to talk about what work we need to do next.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Rich, would you speak to your goal to strategies?
Good evening. In Goal 2, we are about engaging learning environments. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. And Strategy 1 is all about access equity for our students, social-emotional learning. Strategy 1, we are convening to have 3 in-house restorative practice administrators who will be trained to then in turn turn around and train staff within the buildings. We are researching in Strategy 1 as well, social-emotional curriculum for our students to be implemented across the district as a curriculum option in Francis House School District. Also, we will be reviewing and revising curricular materials for cultural relevance for access equity amongst our students. Strategy 2 is about technology, about access equity in instructional technology across the district. Strategy 2, you can see we are looking at a learning management system platform. So we have a digital platform across the district along with an assessment module with that platform. We do have a learning management system committee of about 50 folks that is convening, being finalized, being formed right now. We will have on-site presentations for 3 or 4 vendors on November 6th and 20th to have a recommendation from that committee on a LMS learning management system assessment platform. Also, we have an action team that is gearing up with action team meetings about looking at our current reality with our devices across the district and then also in individual schools. To take a look at what type of devices we have, the number of devices, the age of the device, what type of devices across the district and also within each of the school buildings so that we make sure that we are equitable and have the equal access for all of our students, K through 12. And then we have an action team that is taking a look at instructional technology certifications. One of the big primary work areas was to take a look at what instructional technology certifications that are out there There's a lot of them that are out there, but we want to make sure that whatever instructional technology certifications that we want to promote for our teachers to go for and to get that certification that aligns with the technology resources that we have in the district. So our initial action team meeting, we actually developed a draft of an instructional technology Francis Howell School District framework. So we will be refining that with different levels of certification, again, that align to the resources and tools that we have in Francis Howell School District. Thank you.
Goal 3, Kai's going to speak to it.
We are about attracting, developing, and retaining staff. And so strategy 1 is really focused on employee development, on leadership and rewards. Between strategy 1 and 2, we have 14 action teams up and running. So most of them are really in the process of collecting information right now. We've got multiple teams that are reaching out to different districts. I think we've reached out to over 30 districts in Missouri and outside of Missouri, just asking specific questions about what does X work look like in your district, and then reaching out to some businesses. A lot of ours action teams are dealing with rewarding staff or developing them, and so we're curious what it looks like in the business world as well as what it looks like in different districts. So a lot of information gathering. We are approaching the job fair season, and so Lisa has recruited some teachers to attend some of the job fairs, hoping to talk about what employment in Francis Howell looks like from a teacher's perspective. And then we are using a tool to collect some data on our PD days, our teacher professional learning days. And we're providing that information to a group of teacher leaders and administrators who are facilitating the learning. And it's more specific information and it's more detailed than we've ever been able to provide before. And so we're excited. Our evaluations from our PD days have hit an all-time high since we've started doing it this way. So we're proud of that. Strategy 2 really focuses on collaboration and teamwork. And so in our district, that typically looks like professional learning communities. And so the action teams that are focused on that work, really right now they're looking at what is the best practice, what is the research around the work, and our current models, how close are they to what the research says they should look like. And then that team has decided that really they see step 1 as figuring out the current reality from the people who are participating in those professional learning communities weekly. So right now they are developing the question, they're reviewing the research to make sure that they have the right questions, and then their plan is to do 100 face-to-face interviews second quarter to gather current reality information, and then they'll build a plan based on what the needs are.
Goal 4 is extending student learning opportunities through partnerships between home, school, and the community. Strategy 1 is exploring new ways to engage and collaborate. We know that the two-way communications platform has been one of the things that our parents have been interested in for a while. So we last year surveyed our parents and asked them about their preferences in regard to the platform. We've just wrapped up a similar survey with our certified staff, and we've used that feedback to craft the RFP that is open right now. So we have vendors right now that are looking at that RFP and will be talking to us about being our vendor for the two-way communications platform. We're researching additional opportunities to engage our seniors. We have increasing attendance in our Senior Pals program, but we know that part of our challenge is not just to invite our seniors to us, but we have to push into some of their events. So we've already done that once this year at the Landing, and we're looking to identify some other events where we can visit with our seniors. We've developed a survey to identify topics of interest for our Family Learning Series. So we've sort of combined from last year Parent University and our Parent Speaker Series into the Family Learning Series. We just last month we had 3 events in 1 week that I believe attracted somewhere north of 200 people. So we're getting great turnout for that. And Thought Exchange, of course, the board remembers from our conversation last month. The great thing about Thought Exchange is it hits that sweet spot of additional ways to engage, communicate, and collaborate with our community. So we've already had training this week on Thought Exchange. The board has approved that purchase, and so we'll be implementing that after fall break. Strategy 2 is developing real-world authentic opportunities to extend student learning. Dr. Garland and Dr. Lammers last week, along with some other district representatives, went and visited Springfield and talked to them. They have a very robust summer school program. So some best practice ideas from them about what we can do to enrich our own summer school enrichment. We're working to identify additional business and community partnerships. We've created electronic and hard copy brochures, and we've been working with our local chambers of commerce. And then, of course, we have a list of some of the biggest taxpayers in the district, because if you have that much skin in the game, then we want to give you the opportunity to have even more. So, evaluating what student opportunities related to college and careers are already planned in each school. So we're doing a survey, a building level survey, to see what our buildings are doing as we coordinate something district-wide.
Great, and in strategy 5, the first strategy deals with facilities that are safe, secure, equitable, and meet the needs of 21st century learning. Biggest initiative for us right now has been around the master plan and the development of the list of projects that will help us address those first couple of things. But we've had a lot of conversation around that. But we are getting ready to do some work around 21st century learning spaces. So we have a team of teachers who are going to visit some area schools who have recently, either schools that have recently been built or remodeled, to see what 21st century learning spaces look like in action, so we can bring those back and hopefully help inform our decisions as we begin to implement the master plan. The other thing in strategy 1 that I think is important to point out is that we're talking about potentially changing the nature of our learning spaces and improving some of the operational abilities of our buildings. As we do that, we have to make sure that our staffing appropriately reflects that. So introducing updated automated control systems for all of our HVAC systems is a great thing to do. There'll be a lot of comfort and savings as a result of doing that. But we have to make sure we have the appropriate staff to maintain all those systems. So we're keeping an eye on what we're doing so that we don't build something that we can't keep up. In strategy 2 really deals with securing the resources necessary to make sure that we're able to fulfill our goals. So we've had a lot of conversation about the building part of it and how we can do that through our bonding capacity. The other piece really is Goal 5 has to sit back and watch what the other goals are doing so that we can see where the initiatives are beginning to take root and what they would like to do so that we can begin to develop a plan to provide the funding for those, either by freeing up existing resources or finding some new resources to support the initiatives of the strategic plan that have been tested through all of the other goal areas, and hopefully we'll be able to bring them to realization.
Lot of information, a lot of work going on across the district. Board, any questions? We just heard from everyone on the 5 goals.
I'll just draw the board's attention to, there is a full report, so we gave you the abbreviated report just now, and that's similar to what we did last strategic plan with a full report update and an abbreviated report update. Tegan, anything exciting that you heard just now that you want to comment about? Nothing.
No.
That's okay. So Tegan, board, any questions on the strategic plan update? Okay. So Tegan, we are getting ready to enter what we call a work session. So we're going to move down to these tables, and we're going to have a very candid conversation about the potential of an upcoming bond issue and some of the things we've been talking about with our community, and we're going to have a good, robust discussion about that. So what that means for you is you are welcome to join us, or if that does not sound exciting to you, you do not have to stay for it. So that's up to you. But I do want to thank you for being with us this evening. Do you have any information you'd like to share with us as the school board, or any questions about anything that you heard tonight, or anything you'd just like to share with us?
Can I ask you to, one of the things that Dr. James mentioned was about the web program at your school. Could you share a little bit with that, about that with the board?
Yes, so with web, we try to connect with other students and make them feel welcomed in our school.
How do you do that?
We try to connect with them through lessons during CC. Like, we did a lesson on bullying this past week before fall break.
about bullying and how to take action. And we try to make the sixth graders feel especially comfortable in the new setting for them.
Because it's a little scary.
Yeah, yeah.
So be welcoming and warm and.
They plan a very robust transition week by students for students. So
yeah.
The web group there is amazing.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Tegan, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. As I said, you feel free to join us, but we're gonna hop right down there.
Okay.
All right. And otherwise, if you want to go, you're welcome to do that as well.
Okay.
So thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Board, do we need a 5-minute recess, or are we okay to go right into work session? Let's move down. Have the live mic.
Yes, would you like this one instead?
No, this would be fine.
I know it's.
What's going on?
Jason, it's humming. No? Bring Janet along.
We forgot about Janet.
Janet? She's not even in the room.
She's got nice curtains in her hotel room.
She went out. All right. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. So board, tonight we are going to discuss our bond issue. We're going to focus on talking about a little bit about what we've accomplished thus far with our community. So Dr. Hendricks Harris, is it over to you?
Turn over to Mr. Peck.
Okay.
So we've already worked on some initial conversations with our community about our facilities issues and a potential bond issue. Of course, we sort of walked that fine line. The board hasn't taken official action yet, so we talk in somewhat general terms. Full cabinet talked about some potential names, and what we thought was probably a good one was Proposition S for safe and secure schools. Proposition R was the other one, was probably the second favorite. Rebuild, refurbish, there were some other re's in there. Restore. So anyway, conversations officially started with our board retreat back in June. We of course talked about facilities and potential bond issue at our August and September board meetings. We've discussed it with our principals, the brownies with the board. You know, we combined that with our stakeholders meeting. The other thing we've done is we've shared the story on both in the district e-news, on the district website, and building e-news on building websites. We posted it on social media, which was anecdotally very interesting. The Friday before, as we do every year, we posted the story about the district's tax rate, which generated more than 40 comments. Not 4 days later, we posted the story about the Comprehensive Facilities Master Plan and the potential for an April bond issue, and it did not generate a single comment, which I thought was interesting. We talked about facilities with our senior pals. They did have some questions with us about the bond issue and the money and how it would be spent. We've created some talking points that are also shared here with you. The idea would be, once we've had a chance to look at those, we would share those with our administrators. We know that one of our most important communication conduits are, of course, our staff members. So we want to make sure that we share information with our staff so they can share correct and factual information with our community. We are also currently working on a general one-page flyer as well as an overview video that will both be ready in the next week or two. And then we're planning on launching our thought exchange after fall break, which is 10 days from now. And then we do have on the calendar an informational meeting, facilities bond issue scheduled for November. That would be much as our community conversation was combined with brownies with the board. This one would actually be the superintendent every semester does a PTO booster roundtable meeting, and this would be sort of in combination with that on November 20th.
So the direction that we saw that we got from the board last time was we would like to have you, and we'd like administration to have some informational meetings. Obviously, we've begun that process. We've scheduled one for 11/20. As we had conversation in full cabinet and strategized about those informational meetings, concerns were brought forward about the timing of informational meetings versus educational campaign meetings, not wanting to burn groups out on our message. So we had a lot of conversation about should we be going to all the PTO meetings now and sharing where we're at, or do we save that should the board move forward and have an opportunity closer to the actual voting day to extend that level of and frequency of meetings. So that's really what we want to talk, like, is this what you had in mind? Do you want us to beef up additional informational meetings? When we did informational meetings as part of an informational campaign in the past few, we generally had 3, and the attendance was not great. So we're recommending just go down to 1 informational meeting. We would Facebook live stream or record the meeting for additional views.
And we also think Thought Exchange would be a great way for our community to be able to provide input into the potential bond issue.
So really just wanted to open it for the board. Again, your direction last time was start having informational meetings, and wanted to know if this is enough. Is this what you're thinking? Did you want something more?
So the Thought Exchange, you said over fall break you'll start working on that. And when will we post a bond statement?
A bond statement?
Like, when will we start getting the conversation going on Thought Exchange?
After fall break.
Okay. And how do we plan on monitoring that? Like, I mean, there's gonna be thoughts going back and forth. Do we have someone who can not constantly, but respond back with the facts or any misleading information that may be out there? How do we work
So
on
we have the
correcting
ability, it's not exactly Facebook in that you can't then comment as the district. The idea is that it's a community conversation. We've provided context at the start of the Thought Exchange. So we've laid out the comprehensive facilities master plan, how we got to where we are, what the board's considering, the idea that it would be a no tax rate bond increase, et cetera, et cetera. We do have some moderation abilities, of course, in terms of if somebody's using inappropriate language or that sort of thing, we can certainly monitor that as we go.
So there wouldn't be a way to necessarily, if you have a community member say you spent $500,000 on the statue. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, I can work with Thought Exchange. I'm sure if somebody posts something that's blatantly untrue, that we can correct that.
Like by commenting back to kind of fix that.
And that's of course a role that our board members can play as board members as well.
Well, I mean, we do.
So I think I have some experience with a software product similar to Thought Exchange, and I think it's different than an application that you've used in the past. And if I understand it correctly, if it's similar to what I use, is people make comments, the most voiced comments are pulled together and they kind of rise to the top. So it's kind of an evolving cloud of comments that come together. Did I articulate that?
Yeah, and much as we have sort of parent champions on the district Facebook page who will rise to the occasion and correct misinformation and challenge the trolls, the idea behind Thought Exchange is that community members not only get to make their own comments, but then they get to rate other comments. So if
Right.
somebody's saying something that's unpopular, you'll quickly be able to see
It gets
those,
rated down.
yes, those ratings.
Right, it gets rated
Right.
down, you have your, just
And
was
you
curious
won't-
if there was a way to
You won't see it as
get
much.
facts
I'll double
out
check
there
on
as
that in
well.
case, see if there's something patently untrue, what our options are.
Well, and I think much like the Facebook page comments now, we do take down, especially if there's a pattern of untruths. So we've corrected that we have had a balanced budget and they continue to say that we have not. We will take those down after bringing it to their attention and letting people know that that's inaccurate information. If they continue, we do take it down. Don't allow misinformation to be on our Facebook page.
That was good.
So we'll look into that. What about the number of meetings, the right meetings? Is this what you all were thinking? Do you want something more than this?
Timing of starting.
Timing?
I think one meeting is sufficient. You know, maybe buddy schools, visit the PTOs, because those are our, advocates. They get out there and speak with people, but I think the one meeting is sufficient. Attendance-wise, I think that's good. And I think the timeline is fine in November. I think we'll be getting closer to a decision if we are going to place this on the ballot or not, and when.
Just for consistency reason, and again, this is something that we talked about in full cabinet, I think we either are going to go to the PTO at our buddy schools, maybe along with a district administrator, or we don't. I don't know that I would say this is one of those times when Patrick, who's very active with his buddy schools, goes and does it for his buddy schools, but Chad doesn't. I think that it's either a commitment that we're gonna do that, or that we're not, and not that we're going to some PTOs and not others. I think the inconsistency makes people think that we're not being transparent, so. If you want in on those PTOs, again, our conversation was save that for closer to the vote,
That makes sense.
to the actual vote.
Not
The board vote,
Correct.
the board out, the vote out, and the election.
The election, okay.
I think it'd be, better if we were to go out now and just say, here's what we're thinking. Do you have any input, thoughts, ideas? And then we'll be back later to follow up with you guys, as opposed to, okay, we come out once a year and, okay, we want this or we need this. I think it's better to build those relationships. I mean, most of us have relationships with the PTOs and different things like that, or the parent groups. But I think that the more often we're in front of them and getting their input and build those relationships, I think there's a lot to be said for going out more often.
And I know, Mike, you have mentioned this in the past. I think that is gonna take a commitment on behalf of all board members, if that is the direction that you wanna go now.
So with the one informational meeting scheduled for November 20th, is that an informational meeting? I think that's what you're at. Is that an informational meeting we want to hold or with our community? Or do we want to put that meeting in January after we've made a decision?
I think we were thinking that that informational meeting might be similar to that stakeholder meeting, in that we would present the key points of the unfunded things in our facilities master plan, talk a little bit about what we are anticipating moving forward in regards to phases and projects and those kinds of things. And just be more open. So last time it was an open meeting, but we invited certain people. This would be much more of a general open
meeting on the 20th.
Again, I have the PTO president generally come to that PTO roundtable. Sometimes 2, 3, some buildings 6 of their cabinet members come. So we have had great turnout. Now, we'll have to sweeten the pot and make sure that there's some good things on the agenda for that group, in addition to what we would like to talk with them about. But it's not at every PTO, as if you go there and get to meet with a group of 20 parents, but there's representatives from every PTO at that round.
When is that one?
So we would do that in conjunction with this informational meeting. We were thinking we would do PTO round table 6 to 7 and do the informational meeting at 7.
Yeah, I like that. I would say if we're going to do any big community-wide type informational meetings, that we should probably wait until we know exactly what's going to be on the ballot and that sort of stuff. Just a thought. Not this, I'm not talking about the 20th, but, you know, campaign-wise, as we get closer, I think we'll want to do some more of that sort of stuff, maybe.
I think you'll gain some input that night as well as through thought exchange. But we're open if the board would like to add additional meetings or commit to going to all the PTOs at their high schools. We'd be happy to put some things together.
I'm comfortable with this schedule. I'm excited to see what thought exchange, how our community embraces it or not, and see how that works. But I do think it's an opportunity for input. And if we're having the PTO and a community meeting on the 20th, that gives us enough information that I think we'll be ready to take that feedback and make a decision at our December meeting. I'm comfortable with this. My message is I'm comfortable with this as the right level. Does anybody want more, less?
Well, we're talking about just right now, before we even decide to put it on the ballot. That's the only thing we're talking about, correct?
Oh, yeah, there'll be a whole other list of meetings that we'll
Thank you.
be sharing.
I was just making sure, because this only goes for another month.
Once a vote is taken, there will be a whole other list of meetings for our
Thank you.
informational campaign.
No, let's just move done.
I just wanted to make sure. I was like,
I have one more question, sorry. That says we're gonna pass the flyers out to the schools. What, are the schools gonna get these out to every family, or is it an informational flyer?
The talking points that are attached there.
Yeah, we don't intend to send a hard copy home with every, we haven't done that in the
I just
past.
wanted,
Yeah.
just wanted clarification on what you were.
Yeah, it'd be in a peach jar, it would be included in building e-news, those types of things. Hard copies in building offices, school offices.
And will there be a link to like the thought exchange as part of that?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lane? What are your thoughts?
Seems good with me.
so the PTOs and all of us going to our buddy schools, I mean, I think we should do that, but I think that comes after we've made a
Right.
vote.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, you are looking for that commitment, so I was just trying to clarify, make sure I understood
No,
exactly
it's
when
fine.
we were talking about
Yeah,
these
we were
different.
talking about teaming up even if, with other board members, even if it isn't their school or whatever, to make it more comfortable, instead of just one person going.
You good?
Janet's shaking her head. Janet, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I
Question.
agree with that. I think if we go, with our buddy schools, I know, if we go together, I don't want to say it would be easier so that you feel more comfortable where you're discussing it. But I do believe, I agree with what Mike said, we need to start talking about it and bringing out that information now.
All right, so is the temperature of the board that we agree with what's on the screen for thus far and on our progress?
Can you just move over my thing so I can see what's on the board?
It's in your board docs.
It's in my board docs? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hain.
All right, Ford, any other questions? We're comfortable?
No, no more questions? It's good.
It will also say that we have compiled a list of those potential meetings once the board has made a decision. So communications has outlined all the PTO, all of the events at every building. It's part of what they regularly do now by quarter. And so it's going to be very easy to make that schedule when we decide it's time to do that. And there might be some situations where you don't do a PTO, you do a different event that isn't within that
Building.
within that quarter. Sure. That maybe we would have more attendance at.
All right.
All right.
Superintendent comments.
Yeah, in case you haven't heard, the U.S. Department of Education has recognized Becky David, Daniel Boone, and Warren Elementary as National Blue Ribbon Schools for 2019. The three Francis Howell Elementary schools received this prestigious award based on their exemplary high academic performance. Only 5 other elementary schools in Missouri received the award this year. The coveted National Blue Ribbon Award affirms the hard work of educators, families, and communities in creating safe and welcoming schools where students master challenges and engaging content. On November 14th and 15th, the Secretary of the Department of Education will celebrate with the honorees at an award ceremony in Washington, D.C. Francis Hall School District teachers Kim Linneman and Teresa Swearingham join an elite group of St. Louis area educators selected to receive the 2019 Emerson Excellence in Teaching Award. This award recognizes teachers for their passion for teaching, their impact on student learning, and their knowledge and creativity in the classroom. The recipients are chosen for their outstanding contributions to the teaching profession and to the students they teach. Harvest Ridge Elementary has been selected to receive a $25,000 grant from America's Farmers Grow Rural Education, sponsored by the Bear Fund. The grant is intended to increase engagement, accessibility, and achievement with STEM. The grant money will be used to purchase CUE coding robots, Piper computer kits, mobile makers, space workstations, and a 3D printer. Classroom math materials will include math centers and a math bundle for classrooms K through 5. The grant will also pay for hundreds of new math books and math manipulatives. Over 350 students from Francis Hall High School, Francis Hall North, Barnwell, Bryan, Francis Hall Middle, and Hallbeck attended the annual Manufacturing Day hosted by St. Charles Community College on October 1st. Students had the opportunity to meet with professionals and learn about a variety of job opportunities in manufacturing. They had a chance to ask keynote speakers questions, seek advice from the experts, and learn more about their experiences working in the field. From there, the students attended an expo where they met with a variety of representatives from both large and small companies in the local area, including Nike, Sarah Industries, MyTech, and more. And finally, last week, members of the Henderson Elementary 6th grade class of 1989 returned to the school to open a time capsule they left 30 years ago. The current 5th graders were entertained and enlightened by the contents, which included old newspaper clippings, homework samples, a VHS tape with the 1989 MTV Music Awards, cassette tapes with pop hits, a box each of Cheerios, Kraft mac and cheese, and Cecil Whitaker's pizza, a Henderson t-shirt, and much more.
I thought you were going to say Twinkies that they all share. But they live forever.
No, it was a Big Mac.
Yeah, you can still eat it.
It was the quarter pounder.
It wasn't a piece of pizza, right?
No, it was an empty box.
Okay.
There's a box, is that what you said?
It's a box.
Was it a used box? That's
I doubt it.
All right.
I didn't ask him that.
Board, any comments or requests? Okay. Let's take a look at our November 21st meeting. So any updates, additions, deletions?
Mrs. Cope, we will have the board approve a resolution for the refunding of some of our current general obligation bonds that are still outstanding. We anticipate we'll have some pretty good interest savings as a result.
Sounds good. Anything else to adjust on that meeting at this time? Okay, let's take a look at our December 19th meeting. I think it's likely at that time we'll make a vote on to pursue the bond issue on the ballot or not. Any other additions, changes?
Is staffing a month late? I thought it was November, it's December? Oh, I'm sorry, don't ask.
She's not here tonight, Pastor.
She's not here.
We,
Where are you?
we generally have a work session in December and then approval in January.
Okay.
That's our typical timeline.
Thank you.
I just want to point out, she's at her national conference. She's
Yeah.
not missing the staying home, just taking a pass on tonight.
Let's put it for next week, see what that does to her.
Dr. Peterson also would have normally presented goal in her goal area, and she's had a death in the family, so.
Oh, okay.
Board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Walker, second by Mrs. Lane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Have a great fall break.
You ain't going away. You gotta work.
My kids are.